Many centuries ago, a man existed that will forever be notorious in church and world history. This man was named Henry VIII, and he became King of England when he was just 18, after his brother Arthur died. Henry married Arthur's wife, Catherine of Aragon, partly out of love and partly out of political alliance. Many years went by, and two girls by the name of Mary and Anne Boleyn were sent to live at court by their ambitious uncle. At first, Mary was sent to try and seduce Henry VIII and had two of his children. Eventually, Mary's sister Anne found favor with King Henry VIII and was able to convince him to divorce his wife Catherine of Aragon and cause one of the biggest scandals in church history to date. When we first come across Henry, he is getting married to Catherine of Aragon, Arthur's widowed wife.
And so, I now pronounce you man and wife.
Henry and Catherine were married for a decade or more. However, over the years, Catherine and Henry were unable to conceive a son to be heir to the throne, and the only child of theirs to survive was Mary Tudor, who later became the Queen of England, along with her half-sister Elizabeth I.
Oh, Henry, she has your eyes.
I don't want eyes, I want a boy.
Several years go by. The Howard Boleyn family, who were much favored by the king, sent their two daughters, Mary and Anne Boleyn, to live at court and serve Queen Catherine.
Welcome to court, Mistress Anne. I hope you prove to be a loyal subject.
Welcome, Anne.
Thank you, your highnesses.
In the beginning, Henry was besotten with Mary, Anne's sister, and they had two children together, even though Henry was still married to Catherine. However, Henry became increasingly fond of Anne, and they became the best of friends, playing chess together often and having debates and discussions, for Anne was a very learned woman.
Check, Anne. No, sire, not yet.
Blast!
You have heard of Martin Luther, no?
I have. He's very controversial in the church.
Yes, but he is right in a way. The church needs to correct many of their faulty practices.
How very heretical.
Quite.
Henry was in love with Anne, and she knew it. After a while, Anne began convincing Henry to divorce Catherine, for Anne herself wanted to be queen. Her argument was that the reason Henry and Catherine could not conceive children was God was punishing Henry for marrying his brother's wife.
I cannot divorce her, Anne. She is my wife and a good woman.
You must. She is the reason for your hardships. God is punishing you.
No, Anne. I thought you loved me! Anne!
Over time, Anne was able to convince Henry to annul his marriage to Catherine of Aragon on the grounds that it was an illegitimate marriage. However, Charles V of Spain, Catherine's nephew, took the Pope to hostage so Henry could not send men to Spain to request a divorce. Henry was convinced that he was being punished by God and was desperate for an heir. Sir Cardinal Wolsey, the king's own advisor, was given the task of taking Henry's case to the Pope. But since Pope Clement was held captive in Spain by Catherine's nephew, he forbid Henry of remarrying before council could be held in Rome. Anne, enraged, accused Wolsey of treachery and had him disposed from office as the king's advisor. Catherine was put on trial, and her bravery in this event is still respected today.
I am innocent of all crimes, Your Majesty. Our marriage is legitimate, and God knows it. I am your lawfully wedded wife, Henry, and you will be punished for this crime, if not in this life, then in the next.
Catherine of Aragon, I banish you from court.
Henry's trust in the Pope waned. Catherine was banished from court, and Henry gave Anne her old rooms and staff. Before long, Anne and Henry had a secret wedding, and Anne became pregnant.
I now pronounce you man and wife.
In May 1533, the Boleyn family's personal chaplain and now advisor to the king declared Henry's marriage to Catherine invalid and Henry's marriage to Anne legitimate. On July 1st of that year, Anne was crowned Queen of England. She gave birth to her first child, Elizabeth. Henry began his separation from the church. Many laws were passed stating Henry was head of the church in England and that any to refuse to acknowledge as such would be executed. Pope Clement worked in Rome to excommunicate both Henry and the Cramer, the Boleyn chaplain.
I now now formally pronounce King Henry VIII of England and Cardinal Cranmer, the King's advisor, excommunicated from the Church by order of His Holiness Pope Clement VII.
Henry and Anne were not suited for married life. Anne was unable to conceive an heir, and her violent temper and stubbornness were hated by many. Henry, overcome with power, executed many powerful men in the English church for opposing him. He got in a jousting accident and was injured in January. The shock of this accident caused Anne to go into shock and miscarry their son.
Henry!
Henry caused one of the biggest scandals in the Catholic Church. He separated from the Pope and made his own rules. After marrying 4 other women after Anne, he died in 1547 at Whitehall in London, with only 3 living children to inherit the throne. To this day, the Church of England exists and thrives.
I'm King Henry, and I approve this message.